My dead grandpa just unfriended me on Facebook. My grandpa has been dead for about 10 years, but before he died, he made a Facebook account. I never unfriended him because it felt like I still had a connection with him as long as I could go back and read our old conversations. Well, a few weeks ago I noticed my friend's count had gone down by 2. I never had many Facebook friends, so I knew it had to be 2 of my close friends or relatives who unfriended me. Eventually I realized it had to be Grandpa and Grandma. I thought maybe Facebook had closed Grandpa's account because he had been dead for so long, but that didn't explain Grandma. Also, I could still find both of them by searching for their names. I don't know why, but I tried adding both of them again. Almost immediately the option to add Grandpa returned, so I know my request was ignored. The request to add Grandma remained pending for a few hours, but eventually that one was ignored too. All this is a little besides the point and more detailed than you probably care about. But I need to tell someone, because it's all still really strange to me, and I wanted to tell the whole story. My grandmother is still alive. I don't visit her as often as I should, maybe a few times a year. She's not very tech savvy, but she's on Facebook once or twice a month, and after a few hours of painstakingly guiding her through online banking, she's even managed to start paying her bills online. But other than that, Facebook is about the most complicated computer thing she can handle. I asked my mother and she checked her own account. She had been unfriended as well. She about had a small meltdown when she called Grandma and she didn't pick up. I live pretty close to my mother, so she came and picked me up and we drove to Grandmother's house. It's only an hour away. Really, there is no excuse for visiting her as seldom as we do. Grandma was home and she was happy to see us. When my mother demanded to know why she hadn't picked up the phone, she said she had been to Grandpa's grave. She didn't seem to think Mother had any reason to be upset, but she invited us in and asked if we wanted to stay for dinner or coffee. We decided to remain for a few hours. As I said, we really should have visited her more often, and every time we visit, it's clear Grandma likes having us. We feel guilty about it when we're there for once, but life moves pretty quickly, and there's always something else we need to do. My grandma has an old piano. I'm not very musically inclined, but it's very nostalgic for me to hear Mother and Grandma play on that piano, which they did, as they always do when we visit. It felt good. It felt normal. So I told myself she had probably just had an old person moment and logged into Grandpa's account for some reason. But I was still curious, so I decided to visit her. I did ask her during dinner. She looked embarrassed, but she said she just did not feel like using Facebook anymore, so she had tried to close her account. We said the accounts were still open though, but she waved it away. We finished dinner and helped her with a few things around the house. She was happy to have us there, and again, everything felt normal. Eventually we went home. A few weeks passed. I and Mom both called Grandma once or twice, and everything still seemed normal. But late one night last week, I decided to look my grandparents up on Facebook again. The profile pictures had changed. Grandma used to change hers every now and then, and the new ones didn't look unusual. But Grandma said she stopped using Facebook, and there was no reason at all for Grandpa's account to have a new picture. I brought it up with Mother the next day, and she had that same feeling as I did that. Something was off. We went to visit Grandma again yesterday. She was glad to see us like always. In fact, she seemed happier than she had been in a long time. We asked her about Facebook again, and she said she hadn't been on it. When we mentioned the profile pictures changing, she said maybe she'd been on there once or twice. She didn't want to talk about it, so we let it drop. We helped her with a few chores around the house again, but this time my curiosity was stronger. So I made sure I had an excuse to go into her bedroom while she was in the kitchen with Mother. And I turned on her computer. I know all her passwords, because she never changes them, and she has them all written down on a little note next to her laptop. It was a cheap piece of crap the day we bought it for her half a decade ago, but she only uses it for very basic things like writing about her childhood. She lives out in the middle of nowhere, and she grew up in a retirement home in the 1930s, so she knows more about the area and people who used to live there than pretty much anyone. But she had a Tor browser. She's not stupid, my grandma, but she's always been very, very bad at computering like a lot of old people. So this surprised me. Even my parents probably don't even know what Tor browsers are used for, so my grandma definitely shouldn't. Hell, I don't even know that much. Only time I ever used one was when I was looking into the dark net back in the day, and that was a very brief and shallow visit. I clicked on Tor, and it opened up to a normal search engine. No bookmarks, no browsing history, nothing. Considering she was in the habit of writing all her account names and passwords down on post-it notes and leaving them by the computer, I figured she probably didn't use Tor. I closed it, opened up her regular browser, and went to Facebook. She was logged in. She had unfriended everyone except Grandpa. And this is what creeps me out. There were posts on both her and Grandpa's timelines going back to the day she had unfriended everyone. Some posts were from his account, the rest from hers. They replied to each other. It looked like real conversations. Grandma would sometimes take minutes to reply, sometimes hours, but Grandpa's replies were all almost instantaneous. There were old pictures of them back when they were younger, from back before digital cameras even. I suppose it's possible Grandma might have learned how to scan photos or paid someone to do it for her, but why would she fake conversations with her dead husband? I was starting to worry something was seriously wrong with Grandma. I took a few photos of the screen with my phone, then I went out into the kitchen. I joined the conversation for a little bit, then whispered to Mom and told her to go into the bedroom while I talked to Grandma. I kept her busy for around 20 minutes until Mom came back. She looked a little pale, so she must have found the whole thing as creepy as I did. But now what? We didn't know what to do. I sneaked back to Grandma's bedroom with the intention to turn her laptop off before she noticed we turned it on at all. But then I saw there was a new message waiting for her, for my grandpa. I opened the chat window and it read, "Have Angie and Charlie already left?" My mother's name is Angela, so Angie isn't that strange as a nickname, but Nobody calls me Charlie except my grandparents. Charles is my middle name, and most people don't even know I have one. So I was a little bit disturbed that someone was calling me that when talking to my grandmother using her dead husband's account. I took a photo of that as well, then closed the browser and turned her laptop off. My mother and I said our goodbyes and left. Everything about my grandma's behavior seemed normal, and she was sad to see us go like always, but I know for a fact that it couldn't be her who had written that message, since she had been in the kitchen the whole time. This happened yesterday, and I have no idea what's going on. It feels wrong. I mean, I know something is clearly off, but I have no idea what it could be. How do I even look into this more? Do we just confront Grandma about this?